You may not have heard about the longest swim, but it is a really interesting expedition across the ocean. Ben LeCompte will spend roughly 6 months swimming across the Pacific Ocean from Tokyo, Japan to San Francisco, California. He is swimming 8 hours in a day and rests for the other 16, and is doing this to provide more information about the ocean. I find his journey extremely interesting, and one of the questions that I have is, how does the exposure to radiation influence or impact his physical ability to complete his journey? My 3 sub-questions are: what are the impacts radiation has on the body, how does radiation get into his system, and what is the likelihood of exposure or the amount of exposure that he might get? As Ben started his swim in Tokyo, he will be swimming through areas that were affected by the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster and could contain radioactive chemicals. So, what is the Fukushima disaster? This disaster was an accident at the Fukushima power plant that released radiation. So, what are the general effects of radiation on the body? Radiation is energy that can come from unstable atoms undergoing radioactive decay. Radiation can also be produced by machines such as X-rays. Radiation has enough energy to affect the atoms in living cells and damage the genetic material, DNA. Radiation breaks or damages the bonds in the DNA, damaging the cell. Radiation can also break the water molecules surrounding the DNA, and when water molecules are broken down, unstable oxygen molecules are produced. These unstable oxygen molecules can damage the cell and cause cancers. Exposure to high levels of radiation causes radiation sickness and can result in long-term health issues such as cancer or cardiovascular disease. Acute radiation syndrome causes symptoms such as nausea and vomiting and can sometimes result in death. Exposures to low level of radiation does not cause health effects but can contribute to cancer risk, and exposures of 5 to 10 rem, a unit of measuring radiation, usually result in no harmful health effects. The ways that radiation gets into a person's system include internal or external exposure. Radioactive material can get into the body by ingestion or inhalation or through open wounds, and may also contaminate the food supply and get into the body through eating and drinking. External exposure is when the source is outside of the body, and X-rays and gamma rays are examples of this as they pass through the body depositing energy. As Ben is swimming, he is more likely to inhale radiation from the air, swallow water containing radiation, or absorb radiation from the water through his wetsuit. An organization called Our Radioactive Ocean provides data on the amount of radiation and where in the ocean it has been found from 2016 to 2018. Ben is swimming following the current as that is the shortest distance. Ben's path almost directly follows the path of radiation in the ocean from Fukushima to the coast of California, as radiation is also being moved by the current. In November of 2016, the ORO found elevated levels of cesium in the ocean, but at levels no higher than they were before. In January of 2017, the ORL found that 12% of the original cesium remains in the environment, and the highest level of cesium were in the coastal waters near Pacific City, Oregon, levels being between 2.8 and 3.2 becquerels per cubic meter. In March of 2018, Bodega Bay had 7.2 becquerels per cubic meters of cesium, Hawaii had 4.8 becquerels per cubic meter, and Eureka had 6.4 becquerels per cubic meter. These levels are still well below the regulatory limits in drinking water. The ORO also stated, by our calculations, swimming 8 hours every day for an entire year would only increase one's annual dose by an amount 1,000 times less than a single dental X-ray. This means that although Ben is being exposed to radiation, the estimated amount of exposure for an entire year would still not be above the amount of exposure one gets from a dental X-ray, which does not cause any harm.